I thought, Rod, that all I had to do was close my eyes and imagine myself winning on the beach volleyball court. And I was really perplexed when that did not end up with a result.
Mm-hmm.
And I was noticing, well, clearly there's something wrong with my technique. And the very first thing that Nat taught me, as already having won a gold medal in our sport, she said, the difference is that I don't just live it up in my head. The vision of what I first saw in my head, you could then see in my life. If you looked at me, you would see the vision living my life.
Welcome to the Growth Life Podcast, where we celebrate individuals and their stories about moments where they were courageous enough to embrace uncertainty, brave enough to love diversity, and smart enough to realize that they don't know everything. The Growth Life Podcast shares stories of growth in all areas: careers, mindset, relationships, wealth, and health.
Hello, everyone. This is Rod Hairston, and welcome to the Growth Life. We are so excited today, but before we get started, just to remind you what this community, this podcast is all about. And it's really recognizing that we're courageous enough to accept uncertainty, brave enough to love diversity, and smart enough to know that we don't know everything. And that's why we're bringing on these two powerful people, Sarah Maxwell and Natalie Cook. Let me tell you a little bit about them before I turn it over to their dynamic message. They're experts in visualization and attraction, and that's so needed in the world right now. In fact, we were just talking about it beforehand, how we have to be more intentional, more responsible around what we put into our mind, and we need to realize that the responsibility is ours. As dynamic world athletes, they represent Canada and Australia in beach volleyball, one of my favorite sports, and they've honed in on achievement at the highest level. Natalie won an Olympic gold medal on her home beach. That's very, very powerful. Their powerful techniques take spiritual practices, much needed, and they make them tangible, which is help thousands of people in their community members, helping their community members bring their vision boards to life. That's going to be really important. Having a vision board and bringing one to life are two different things. So really listen keenly and intently to what they have to say. Recently, they have been taking their expertise on the road, and as a full-time family traveling through Europe with their 3-year-old daughter, and just imagine her future. This platform has allowed them to inspire, coach, lead, create their desired family using a 3-step simplified process. So I want us all to kind of, again, I know when we get these podcasts sometimes, because you aren't making a big investment, sometimes we'll dismiss or minimize what we're hearing. Really focus today. Really pay attention to what you're listening to. Take great notes. And I'd like to introduce again Sarah Maxwell and Natalie Cook. Thank you for being here today, folks.
Thank you, Rod, for having us. It's pretty exciting to be part of it, and especially to launch the year.
Absolutely. This is going to be amazing. Amazing. This aligns with our big picture. So I can't think of two people to represent the big picture, the future, than you two. So guys, let's get right into it. Why is visualization important? Why is it important?
Well, you often hear athletes are masters of visualization, and visualization for me is just the very first level. Something Sarah and I do and help others understand and create their own things takes that to a whole new level. Like, visualization is just the beginning, but how do you actually implant yourself in the vision? So you can close your eyes, because the best way to see anything, Rod, is to close your eyes, right? And then you can close your eyes and see this big picture, see a vision, see a dream, see a desire. But how do you actually transport your heart and mind and every cell of your being into that picture is really the importance of visualization. And it takes it to a whole new level.
Okay, that's really amazing. Let's talk more about that. Let's be a bit more specific. So you're saying just closing my eyes and putting a picture in my mind is not complete visualization. That I have to, so how would I make it mine? How would I make it what you would consider real visualization? What are some steps?
Yeah, it's part of our simple 3-step process that you talked about at the beginning. And, often I'm sure you've heard about, you've got to do this, visualize, and you've got to have a vision board. And like you said, having that come to life is a totally different thing and a whole new level of being, not so much even doing, but being. So if we talk about steps, because clearly that's important, the first step is to write, rewrite, create a new life story for yourself. So Sarah, explain that a bit.
Yeah, I wanted to jump in because as I was hearing Nat speak, it brought me back to a time as a young athlete. And I thought, Rod, that all I had to do was close my eyes and imagine myself winning on the beach volleyball court. And I was really perplexed when that did not end up with a result. Mm-hmm. And I was noticing, well, clearly there's something wrong with my technique. And the very first thing that Nat taught me, as already having won a gold medal in our sport, she said, the difference is that I don't just live it up in my head. The vision of what I first saw in my head, you could then see in my life. If you looked at me, you would see the vision living my life.
Wow.
And so I was like, okay, this is another level. And therefore, she said, and so it's time you start putting pen to paper. Because, a lot of people just live up here and it's really fast energy, which is powerful, but we live in a human body, and the word embodiment, how do you actually have your body achieve the result? Because I was sort of in the gap. I was going, I'm having lots of dreams going on up here, but my results were looking like something else. So Nat really, and this is one of our processes, was how do we deconstruct for people the difference between how I used to live and what I learned by that very beginning, like putting pen to paper and actually creating this new life story. And it was harder than it sounded. It was in the doing of it that the cells of my body began to change. And then my results, to be honest, felt a little bit like, of course, instead of, I actually thought that's what it was like before, but by the time you're a match to them and you're aligned to them, it almost feels like, yeah, of course. So that was a surprise. So
because goal setting 101, if you start with, I have to set a goal, right? And then 101 is, you probably heard, write it down. Now, people dismiss that. Like, I thought that's obvious. First of all, you get told to dream, desire, pick a goal, and then you write it down, and then you get your brain to start to be creative. We need to write for the brain to open up its creativity. Paint it, sculpt it, bring all the dimensions to that vision and sleep in. So here's the story of how it happened for me. For gold, clearly I was after an Olympic gold medal, right? So,
because what had you done before? So in
bronze.
96.
In 1996, we won a bronze medal, and we were very close, and we went on a journey to find ourselves, discover ourselves of what that gap, from a Olympic gold medal podium position to the bronze is like that much, right? Just one step. But the actual being and doing for that to happen, massive. It took 4 years. So one of the processes we went through was to surround ourselves with gold. Now you can take that, you can put a picture of gold on your phone, you can get a gold phone case, you can get one thing that's gold and think you're done. So this is the sort of level we need to play at to really achieve what you want to achieve. I immersed myself in gold. I had gold sheets, so I wrapped myself in gold. I had gold boxer shorts, gold pillow, gold toothbrush, gold toothpaste, gold toaster, gold Ugg boots, gold car, gold sunglasses, gold watch. I even washed in Palmolive gold soap, right? So every sense of my body through like osmosis, was the brain was then trying to match how it was going to do that process. So really, really important to immerse yourself in this vision and to start by writing it down, which is one of our first processes is creating a new story, and how you write it is important as well.
And I just want to add, when you're writing a story, it's easy to get distracted by your current reality. Mm-hmm. You know, I love when Nat's coined that phrase, it's easier to see when you close your eyes. And what's easier to see is the life that you actually want to live into versus the one that you currently see around you. And I think that a lot of times the things, and I'll just speak for myself, but the gaps that I was experiencing is because I continued to write about, speak about, and tell the story about where I was and where I wanted to go. So I was like really focusing on the not being there. I actually thought that was the way. I thought that was the way to scale the mountain. However, what it did was continue to reassert the distance. And I just didn't know that at the time. I didn't realize some of the laws that were at play. And it's like, if I were to jump off this house that I live on, I'm on the 3rd story right now. I mean, there's certain laws at play.
That's right.
Like, yeah, splat, right? Gravity's playing. And so there was something playing in my world that I didn't know. And then it made me more frustrated. So then I kind of just said it louder and I got more frustrated. And I think that being able to understand how you actually live inside of it, hence the gold story, that is totally real, by the way. And a lot of people say things, you know, oh, wow, Nat, that's just craziness. But what is crazy? Living the way you've always lived and being upset about it, complaining about the way it's always been, like, to maybe that's the crazy space. And so, you know, redefining crazy could be useful.
You know, I love this, and it's so complete. And what I want the listeners to get is there's way more going on here than visualization. Way more. You're building self-esteem. You're expanding identity. The strongest force in human nature is to stay consistent with the identity you hold of yourself. And so what these two powerful people are talking about is an immersion technique where you're actually transforming on a mental level. And we know that everything that you have on the outside has to be born at some level on the inside, whether you do it intentionally or unconsciously, whether you do it from your past references or you sit down and you start rewriting your story. They're also helping you deal with the level of uncertainty. So you got to think about it. The uncertainty of believing that you can be the best in the whole world, right? And something that everybody wants, and just qualifying is incredible and improbable. But to then win that gold, what type of self-esteem do you need to have? So surrounding your life with gold, what does that do for your self-esteem, your self-concept, your security, your confidence? What does that do for you? And then the third thing I'm hearing, and I just really want you guys to get, is that what they said beautifully is the universe abhors a gap. So once I create a gap of where I want to be and where I am now, and I focus on where I want to be, then unconsciously, because the unconscious mind can't tell the difference between what is real and what is consistently, vividly, and written, visualized, right? When you do it consistently, the mind starts moving in that direction from an internal perspective. And so when you hear two champions like this tell you that what they're saying is, they're giving us all the recipe with the results on the back end of how to be more intrinsically motivated versus extrinsically, versus looking at your circumstances. No, utilize your inner genius, your inner gift. And that's what people have to get in this world, that your capability is there. The real key to life is, are you going to discover it? Are you going to discover it and really do something about it? So I really want you guys to listen to what's going on here and recognize that very seldom do you have people give you messages where the results that they, again, think about this. You can hear from CEOs or people, trust fund babies. This is none of that. These are people who had to go out and you, on a physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual level, really implement what they're saying. So what I'd like to ask you too now is, how does this play into spirituality? You said that you know, that's part of the bio, is the spiritual impact. Tell me more about that.
Do you know what I'm laughing about? I have to laugh about this because having Nat associated with that idea of spirituality would have seemed so foreign when we first met each other back in 2000. However, I would say there was lots of spiritual things going on, but that word, to the point where, you know, I was starting to really delve into meditation and Eastern philosophy even during my career. And, you know, she would just like go, oh my gosh, what are you doing? Like just laugh and just shake her head, right? And so for any of the listeners that love Abraham Hicks, you know, I was really like getting into Abraham and really experiencing that next level of narrowing that gap. And anyway.
Whereas I was more Tony Robbins' philosophy, right? So fire walk.
Make it happen.
Yeah, make it happen, yang. Yeah, so
here I am allowing, and she is making it happen, right?
Allow, what do you sit down on your backside under a tree and allow? It doesn't, that, so we have both sides there. She's all woo-woo, and you know, but I've started to change.
But don't tell that. I haven't told that part.
Okay.
Because Abraham comes on one day and it's like, there is nothing more annoying than someone who listens to Abraham and is like championing or telling somebody about it all the time. And I was like, oh, that's my life for the past 5 years. Because I would tell her about it and it would almost create a gap. Annoying. And then as I realized to just allow and trust the process. And then one day before 2008, the Olympics in Beijing, she's like, quickly, can you load that, you know, that Abraham stuff onto my iPod? I'm like, what just happened? What's happening? So anyway, quickly do it before she changes her mind. And then next thing you know, our level of conversation was so heightened because I think that you started to see some of the things that you were doing that were very spiritual. However, my opinion, sometimes she would struggle to describe them because they were just who she was being all the time, right? So I see my role a little bit as I'm going to observe that and kind of mechanize it a little bit, like deconstruct what's really going on here in order that we can actually share that with somebody else. Because, you know, the greatest gift that we've experienced in retirement is being able to help other people. You know, it's like, who wants to be rich and alone in their castle? You know, like there's nothing exciting about that. We love traveling full time as a family because everyone's coming to visit us. You know, we love that. We love showing them all the things we've discovered in Europe. So we're even inspiring the locals here in Europe, Rod, to do things we're doing they've never even known was on their back door. So they're writing travel lists and bucket lists of our adventures. And really it has come from this realm. And I'll stop Sarah there, which is very difficult to do, you know. So 17 years together.
You know, Abraham talks about getting into the vortex, and we as athletes talk about getting into the zone. And they really are a similar place. And let me say that from 25 years of experience of getting into the zone and Abraham allowing the vortex, right, it is there are so many ways to do it, right, but it is much simpler, more peaceful, and at ease to allow yourself to get into the vortex. So Sarah allowed me the space. See, sometimes you've got to create a space or allow for a space. Like you said, nature abhors a vacuum, right? The gap is going to allow for something to fill it. And so that spirituality side of it is really just in allowing yourself to get to where you want to go. But until you're clear with where you want to go, it can't help you.
Okay. I got to add something because this is like defending my position, okay, because this is what couples do, right? But I think it has value, is that the spiritual element where it related to sport was that the relationship that we have with our teammate is what lie between our results, like how you get along with that person. And when you're always trying to make it happen, sometimes the resistance or the contrast was coming up like, oh man, there's another person here and I can't control them. I can't make them do what I want to do. And so the spiritual elements and the trust and actually seeing that connection, I think, showed Nat that, relationships and how you actually hone them is directly related to your results. And so I think that life kind of has its way of demonstrating that relationships for me are the most complex in terms of what they ask of you. I don't think you can make them happen. I think you have to let them happen. Like relationships need oxygen, like we made at Halloween, we were making these little, what are they called? Lanterns. And we would put the little hat on the lantern and then it would blow out. And it was like, it needed oxygen for the candle to stay lit. And in relationships, if we're like stifling on each other, which is what I was doing when I wanted her to be spiritual with me, it was like, there's no oxygen there. She can't breathe. She can't discover her flame because I'm over on her, telling her. So that was a really long answer.
I love it. You will be spiritual, damn it.
Yes,
you will be spiritual.
Happen.
Oh my goodness. Yeah.
What's wrong with you? I love that. And just let me, again, I love this interview. And what I'm hearing and what people can get confused about is if you heard the message just now, they said that the gold medal was really, really important as sort of a target. And the way I look at it is life, we have a ism in our business, and it says there is no there. And so when you think about this beautiful journey, and it almost contradicts what somehow some people are going to hear the message. So if the goal is to win a gold medal, then that's the there. Well, no, that's not the there. That's just the becoming. That's just the destination along the way. But you never stop. There is no there. This is a continuous process. And if you listen to what these two powerful people are saying, is that if you have to have a vision, why not be intentional with one? If you have to have a vision, why not recognize that it's an allowing more than a forcing, right? Like power versus force, right? Force is not it. The power you can't control because you are it. If there isn't a there, then it's all about the connections along the way. It's like, how do we connect as we journey together? How do we get back to realizing that this party of being divided, it's just for a small time, but we all come from the same fabric, and we're all looking to get back to that connectedness, that beautiful quilts that my grandmother used to make, all the different patches, but it needed all of those patches sewn together to make you warm and to create comfort. And so really listen to what they're saying. And we're going to bring them to the States because the people over here need it. They need you guys badly. So tell me, how are the people in Europe embracing sort of visualization? How do people in Europe? I was very interested to ask this question at the beginning of the interview.
Well, the visa office is not fully embracing visualization. The visa office. And that's a little joke that we do have, is that our way of life is really foreign here in Switzerland, where we've lived. And in order to live here, we've had to explain income coming in whilst also saying we don't have a job in Switzerland. This is just like foreign, which is actually amazing because we got the visa. So that means that, on some level, there was like a shifting, like a whole reorientation of cells to encompass this idea. And I think that that's the response that we get a lot, is how can you travel full time as a family? How's that possible? And I think that it's kind of fun to like create this possibility that might kind of shift disrupt. Yeah.
It disrupts that a lot. They are thinking, how are you doing this? Is this possible? I never thought what you're doing is possible. And we have made, you're talking about connectedness, we have made more friends in our local village than the people we are living with, because they work every day from 7 till 7. They are disconnected from society, and by the time they get home, they're exhausted. So are they really living the life they want to live is a question. And Sarah has actually brought that up to them to see, okay, how can we disrupt what they're doing to see if they can create a better life for themselves? But as we know with anything, Rod, people have to want it for themselves. So the way we've disrupted Europe and the visualization is happening is by living our best life, is by living our full-time family life and having our 3-year-old sing and skip down the street and get to the park. And she got to the park today and said, where is everybody?
It's true.
And they're all at work and they're all at school, right? So while she wants friends to play with for this connection, there's no one available to play because they're too busy working big, long jobs and they can't bring their kids to the playground.
That's so amazing. And talking about the childlike genius, right? How I grew, as my youngest son, when I started getting into this business, he was a baby and I taught him all of these things as a child. And he grew up thinking that everybody thought this way. And I remember listening to him once when I was talking to a parent and he was standing behind me talking to her son. And her son asked my son, his name was Roddy Jr., Roddy. And he said, do you think that kid could beat me in a race? He wants to race me. And my son looked at Jacob and said, well, when you race him in your mind, who wins? And I was just I stopped and I'm listening. I'm like, holy crap. I mean, he's really doing this. And Jacob goes, what? He goes, when you race him in your mind, who wins? And he goes, what are you talking about? He goes, well, you do everything in your mind before you do it. He said, you do everything in your mind before you do it, right, Jacob? And Jacob goes, what are you talking about? He goes, well, close your eyes and race him in your mind. Like, why wouldn't you do that? And he's a little frustrated with Jacob. And I'm standing there and I'm this dad that taught him this, that's not even doing this myself.
That's awesome.
And he said, well, why don't you do it now? And Jacob closed his eyes and he goes, well, who won? And he goes, I don't know. He goes, you probably won't win. And he walked away. And right. And so that's how he thought he won his soccer championships, his basketball championships, and he used to come home and be so frustrated with, why would anybody think of what they didn't want? Why would anybody not design it in their mind the way they wanted it? And I said, but Roddy, you haven't won everything. He goes, that's not the point. The point of it is that it's mental rehearsal. It's mental practice. That's like saying physical practice is not important. Well, mental practice is important. And I thought, man, this kid, it's like, that's how he thinks. And
he should be running your podcast, Rod, because
that's right.
That is I got goosebumps when you said the story, because single-handedly, that is the number one thing. Now, when you run it in your mind, though, this is the next step, and this is the key, is if you ran that race right then and you didn't win, that there's this gap, right? But still in your mind, you're winning, and you're going, hang on a minute, in my mind, I'm winning, but it's not happening in reality. And Sarah talked about waiting for reality to catch up. But as a runner in that race, as a beach volleyball player on the court, you have to act as if, or fake it till you make it, whichever phrase you like. There's two theories there. You are winning. You have to cross the line like Usain Bolt and do your little dab like you, even when you're not winning. And this, because your body, as you know, your body doesn't know the difference. And so you go to sleep that night, even though you've fallen over and hit the hurdle and scraped your knee and gone to the hospital because you hit your head and come last, a winner, because you've got, you know it's coming. You don't know how. I knew I was going to win an Olympic gold medal, and in Atlanta we came third. And so I spent a few nights going, this isn't right. What's going on? And I didn't realize at the time it was going to take another 4 years for that to come into alignment with. But if I'd have got all upset and started to, deflate myself from a physical level and start acting like I'd lost, I would never have won. You have to act as if you are winning in your life, and in your story you've written every day, even when it's not showing up in your reality. This is the fundamental number one thing that needs to happen if you really want to achieve the vision.
That is so beautiful. Have you guys written a book yet?
Nat did.
I wrote a book on the gold medal
yeah.
journey from the bronze to the gold, called Go Girl, and it was really about how I transformed the alchemy of transforming bronze into gold. Beautiful. And I think, together, Sarah, Rod's just thrown out the challenge.
Well,
absolutely.
Because I was going to say, playing a board game against that is really difficult because she's winning and up on the table no matter what, right? But I think the thing that struck me, Rod, something you said was we're always visualizing something. It's just, is that thing actually in line with where you want to go in your life? And so it's just, being deliberate is joyful.
Absolutely.
I think that's the only difference is like things happen to us in life and we call them luck. And it's really fun that we deliberately created this year traveling as a family full time. We created it, and so it's deliberate. And so there's a joy in that. There's something about that. And I think that is something that before we write the book, I think we're in content, like we're building the content.
We're living
the content of our lives at the moment. This is the visual that's being created, I guess, as we speak. And to be honest, we're most passionate about other people. Like I don't know if it's an age thing or something happens, and all that you get excited about is watching that manifest in someone else.
Absolutely.
You can't control it, but being a part of it is really cool. So that's what we're really about these days.
There's a beautiful, authentic nature about you two, and is bigger than you. And together, when you guys come together, there's something beautiful. As soon as you got on, as soon as I saw your faces, I relaxed. And I think the world is looking for that authentic, sort of beautiful diversity, right? And old messaging. So you guys bring a nice, fresh perspective to something that people think they know. I'm so excited for to watch the baby grow with these two beautiful parents, and how she's going to be. And that was one of the points of bringing up my son and watching his life. Watch her and really see. That's going to be really, really amazing to watch that happen. I think that the world needs this message. I love that you guys are doing this international tour. We would love to have you in the U.S. and anything we can do to support this beautiful message, we're there. Are there any parting words that you would like to leave for people that's looking at this from all over the world?
Well, I was going to give you the last word.
Okay, give me the last word. If you're inspired, you can have yours too. For me, it's if you go to sleep at night and you put your head on your pillow and you see something very clearly for yourself, for your family and others, please hang on to it. Do everything you can to have it and live it. Never, ever give up on yourself or others. To have whatever you see so clearly come into the manifestation of, whether that takes a day, a week, a year, a lifetime. If the vision is so clear, like a dog with a bone rod, hold on to it because you deserve it, and allow it to come to you.
Oh, that was pretty good. I mean, the only thing I wanted to leave you with is our daughter is really raising us. And the thing she's raising us to appreciate the rain, to live in the moment, to actually take in all that life has to offer. So I encourage you all to, if something, like Nat said, if something's on your heart, do one thing that, like, in the next, I would even say 10 minutes, that lets you know that something has changed, something is transforming. And I think living in that story versus the story that perhaps you've been telling yourself up until now is how you start this process. So we look forward to interacting with all of you guys. And you can actually type in bit.ly/the full-time family. So think bit.ly, the full-time family, and you can get there as well. So we look forward to really interacting with you. We're really about other families living their desired life, because let's be honest, we all had a dream at one point, and anyone who has kids the dream is there, and I don't believe it's ever died.
Another book. That's all I'm saying.
Thank you, Rod, so much.
You.
Really appreciate you. And
you guys are awesome.
Yeah.
Keep changing the world. Good job, Rod.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for catching this episode of the Growth Life Podcast. Join us at growth-u.com. That's growth-u.com.